going viral online of a dozen women being asked the following question: do we need men? Most answered very quickly, no, because men are useless. I mean,
this headline from The Hill, it caught my eye. Most young men are single. Most young women are not.
Young men have fallen faster than any demographic in America over the last 40 years.
It's a different world now. Like, we don't need men the way that they used to.
The future is female. Men and women are drifting further apart, and society is crumbling because of it.
A fascinating debate has broken out about the value of marriage.
You've kind of got the trad versus red pill thing.
This men's rights crowd that sometimes just goes too far the other way.
You need to stop acting like grown boys and infants and actually become men.
Marriage is a bond, and it's a sacred bond.
It's a machine designed to extract resources from you.
Now many of the red-pilled have taken the position that it's bad for men to get married.
Hannah Pearl Davis, or just Pearly Things.
One of the most controversial faces in all of the internet.
She goes on to say that marriage is a terrible deal for men.
Because if me and you were in a business contract, you would never sign a contract where I am paid to leave.
Gee, what could go wrong there?
74% or something of divorces are initiated by women. Men have everything to lose, primarily their own children.
Men get killed by the courts and by divorce laws.
I had no idea that courts of family law were courts of equity, not courts of law.
Because in family court, you don't need evidence to accuse someone of abuse. You need no evidence. When you guys say get married young, a lot of these men don't know what they're signing up for, and you're not going to be there when their entire life falls apart. I interview them on the other side.
I didn't meet my son until he was 15 months old.
How much did you spend trying to get him back?
On legal fees alone was about $200,000.
Before you know it, you're homeless. You're literally just thrown out onto the street.
We absolutely reinforce bad behavior from women.
Wives are taught to leave their husbands, and then daughters grow up without their fathers.
Family is the foundation of society.
Every problem in society comes from single mother homes.
A lot of women will just chase this negative rabbit hole of happiness, endless happiness.
Feminism's biggest failures is it lies to women. We tell women to date as many guys as possible. We tell them to put off family into marriage.
You are allowed to leave your perfect husband. You are allowed to end a relationship with a really great boyfriend.
Oh, freeze your ex, have an abortion.
What? You're evil. I don't think there's anything else in life that we actually ever go into preparing to fail.
Right.
Like, if you have the mentality of this is going to go wrong and be pessimistic, naturally the outcome is going to be that it's going to fail anyway. Yeah. It's self-sabotage. And that's the thing, like, women are so willing to leave marriages because they're not happy. This is not about happiness. The most important thing is the children. And the problem is we have a modern society where it's me, my feelings, leave when I feel like it, instead of doing what's best for the kids.
This myth that we live in an age of male privilege. Where's my male privilege?
They think, well, men have all the rights. They have all the power.
Privileged patriarchal system that we have.
Why doesn't our society care about men's rights?
I have no friends, no wife, and no social life.
Men are alone in this situation. Men are homeless. Men are thinking about eating guns.
I've seen so many men on the brink of suicide, and they didn't do anything wrong.
How are you equal if the men are the ones that have to fight and die to defend the country? The men are the ones that build and maintain all the infrastructure.
Women are helplessly dependent upon men.
The so-called deaths of despair from suicide, overdose, or alcohol, 3 times higher among men than among women.
Culture is telling men, you are no good.
You got to get your act together.
I think men have failed themselves.
What kind of a man are you? What kind of a woman are you going to attract?
If men are in trouble, so are women.
Everybody knows this is a huge problem, but nobody wants to admit it.
Every single woman at the table said they wanted a man.
500K,
500K, 300K,
200K.
Am I crazy?
Everything is really set up against you to fail as a man.
If men make less than women, women don't want to marry them.
So you know who wants more economically and emotionally viable men? Women.
I don't want to be an independent woman anymore.
I don't want to be a strong, independent woman.
I'm over it.
When is it going to be my turn?
Where are we meeting the men that don't stop?
I can't keep having these same conversations.
The only simp here is you, Pearl. You simp for men.
I think you said for women.
She's a provocateur. She says stupid stuff, but Pearl is right about this.
It's already happening. It's just not out in the open yet.
Now it's just hookup culture is going to be our fairy tale ending because men don't want a wife and women can't find a husband. The future, if everybody follows your path, is there is no future.
We go into population decline, and our economy goes into decline.
Civilization will crumble.
The American story does not end well. This is an existential crisis failing young men.
What is going on, everybody? Well, welcome to another episode of Pearl Daily. For those of you that don't know, that is our documentary trailer. So if you do want to, we are at, let me check, $31,967 raised. So we're trying to raise $100,000 to put together our divorce documentary. As you guys know, I have lost 3 Instagrams, 7 TikToks, and I got demonetized on YouTube last year, although I am back now. So we are raising money to finish the documentary. So if you want to donate, the link is in the description. All right, so today I have a special guest joining us for an episode of the Sit Down. So as you guys know, yesterday, we were reacting to this video of this guy just cooking. He was just cooking these 2 feminists from Canada. And I just thought, what better use of my time could it be to have him cook on an episode of The Sit Down. So welcome to the show, Jeff St. James. We are so happy to have you here.
Thank you for welcoming me.
So could you tell my audience a little bit about yourself? You're relatively new on the scene.
Yeah, I actually started this podcasting journey about 2.5 months ago. And just being myself per usual, I did not anticipate 250,000 people in the last 4 days seeing my face and hearing my voice and having hundreds of thousands of people either loving me or hating me at this point. So I'm here. I'm a licensed therapist and trained certified trauma specialist. And I've been working over a decade in the field. And I'm repping Philadelphia.
Cool. So what was it like going viral? And because I know some people get people can handle that amount of attention in different ways. So how was it for you?
Yeah, honestly, I laughed at all the comments, good and bad. Apparently, I'm Kevin Samuels 2.0. I am gay. I hate women, and I'm a red pill therapist is what I've been apparently now identified as. So apparently I'm all of these things, but honestly, I don't take myself too seriously. Even me getting into this space, I wasn't looking necessarily like get famous. It was more so just bringing a slightly different perspective that I felt I wasn't really hearing in a lot of these types of conversations.
Yeah, well, you were really calm. I was actually surprised how much they let you talk. They never, I got to learn whatever the heck you did. They never let me talk that much. They always cut me off.
You know what? I would say it's definitely the pool of the people you admire and kind of invite on at times. They're the argumentative types. These 2 ladies, they welcomed me. They asked me, and they came up with the topics, they came up with the questions, and I just came in and did it.
Cool. So now that you're labeled the red pill therapist, would you consider yourself red pill, and how would you personally define it?
Sure. Yeah. I never thought I'd be identified in that way, but in terms of all the ways in which people can kind of categorize me or categorize what I stand for in a lot of my arguments, sure. I think a lot of what I stand for is probably red pill. And the interesting thing is there was a point in my life when I was definitely black pill, and I've switched back over to the red pill side, and I hope to convert you and all of your black pill listeners to come back over to the slightly less dark side.
Well, okay, so you want to convert me today. We'll get to that later. So what is your opinion then on the current dating markets and intersexual dynamics between men and women?
Okay. In terms of what's going on presently and how we got here, in my last interview, I kind of mentioned that the pill and birth control, sexual liberation, women entering the workforce en masse, and social media / dating apps has really changed how we as human beings kind of see each other and the general trajectory of where we're heading as a civilization, especially in terms of Western cultures. More or less, the end result is now that women have basically delayed motherhood and marriage, increase their chances of experiencing a lot of trauma and pain from the frequent relationships that don't work through their teens and 20s and possibly 30s, and also decreasing just the overall trust in each other, men and women, as well as increasing the perspective of just wanting transactional expectations on the other side. We've now developed very false beliefs in terms of optionality of what's available whenever things don't just keep working out. We can give up, we can leave relationships, we can get divorced. And then that's pretty much led us to where we are declining as a civilization in terms of our birth rate. So I think that's in essence what is going on at this point.
And do you think it's because of the pill, or like what do you think are the root causes behind it?
Each one of these things that I listed gave options to women that perhaps they didn't have or didn't have nearly as much as they did. Sure, in the past, women could have gotten hangers and, went in the back alley to kind of get that situation addressed. But once it became more formalized in medical settings, it made their ability to be able to delay a lot of things that were typically done earlier for women and throughout human history. They said, I can wait till I'm in my late 20s. I can wait till my 30s to do this now. And simultaneously, I can now have sex and choose my suitor. So that was one way in which they kind of opened up the door for women specifically to start to approach dating and marriage differently. Then when you had the sexual liberation movement, they were convinced that trying to do life like men, especially sexually, was going to have all of these significant benefits. The consequence, unfortunately, is not only was it a rise and increase in STDs, a rise and increase in single mother households, but also probably a significant degree of dissatisfaction with women when it comes to their ability to be able to pair bond, their ability to remain satisfied, and always the comparisons of what's next or who's next or who could be better. So yeah, I think that, many of these, and then of course we can't forget the social media and dating apps. It's just it's convinced a generation of women, specifically in the West, that there's always a better alternative. There's always a best option. And that with the influx of the likes, the influx of the comments, the influx of men in their DMs, they're convinced that because there's so many of these men that want me, that I have all these options. And the reality is they wouldn't sleep with most of those men. They wouldn't be in relationships with most of those men. But they've, in essence, kind of conflated all this attention I get on the outside with the reality of how few men I actually want and can actually end up with.
I think it almost reveals women don't like men as much as we originally thought. Would you agree with that, or do you disagree?
This is a tough one.
Because it's like the second you're like, do you want to kill their kids? They're like, yup. They're like, the second they're like, do you want to leave your husbands? They're like, yup. The second they're like, do you want to be moms? Do you guys want to wait? They're like, let me wait as long as possible. They say like revealed preferences versus stated preferences. So like people say they want things, but if you look at like their actions, it's not like, it's like the fat friend you keep taking to the gym. And they're like, I want to lose weight. And you're like, all right, come to the gym.
Earl, first of all, I got a job, right? So I'm gonna try to keep it. Well, what I would say in response to that, believe it or not, is that I do agree that with optionality, people's natures have definitely been revealed much more clearly. But with that said, I don't know if I was a woman and I had this many options and an ability to get so much attention so early and so often that I wouldn't potentially adopted much of that mindset too if I were in their shoes for at least a season. The issue is actually not simply that it's revealed that women have the capacity to be just as grimy as men in some respects. It also revealed that I think they saw something. It revealed something in women that I don't think most men factored in.
It was a secret before. Women could just say like that. Oh, that was the women today. In the past, we weren't like that. And I'm like, yeah, grandma, because there's no smartphones. Like,
yeah. I don't buy that women, and that's the thing. This is the difference. Yeah. I think the only difference between women today and women of the past is cameras, social media, and the ability for us to see it more readily available. I think women have always done what they wanted to do and picked their best option that they thought they can get in terms of a spouse. Very quickly might move on if a guy wasn't the right fit. I think the female dating strategies by default is definitely different than men's. And I don't think that changed as much as it probably got exacerbated with all these things that I mentioned.
Yeah, I agree. The one thing I think you said that I might have a different opinion on, I don't think, I think you said women are like traumatized from sleeping around. I don't really. I think it's just like a get out of jail free card they use later. I'm like, you did not look traumatized when you were like hanging out with Tyrone, Chad, Gavin. You seem fine.
Yeah,
But then you're gonna like cry later, but I think it's just so they can get a husband. Because like obviously they can't be like, oh, I really enjoyed that. It was a lot of fun. So
Yeah,
you know.
well, as a trauma, sorry to cut you off.
Yeah,
As
go
a trauma therapist, I actually know what trauma is. So it's
Okay.
very fascinating to see women and people specifically that overuse trauma and everybody that I was with in the past as a narcissist. Like, I actually know what these terms mean and know how to measure them. So when I mean it, what I actually mean is that, yeah, they actually increase your chances to experience trauma because
Okay.
you keep dealing with so many men who you haven't probably vetted properly. So yeah, but a lot of times when they're using those words, it's not actually applying to the case.
No, they don't want to vet them properly. You know what I mean? You just want six-pack abs. Okay, so tell me what you mean by qualified and unqualified men.
So yeah, in my last interview with the ladies at Sharing My Truth podcast, I had mentioned that there were men that were considered qualified and there were men that were considered unqualified, and that their experiences with women tends to be radically different. The men that I would say are qualified are typically men that have good to great income. They meet a certain height requirement, typically 6 feet or above. They're in fairly decent shape, fairly charismatic, confident, desired by multiple women and respected by multiple men. Those are the men that I would say, and most people would kind of identify as quote unquote qualified to have options with women, to be able to push off commitment, to be able to sleep with multiple women simultaneously at the same time and never have to lead towards marriage. These are the quote unquote men that qualify to get access to women's sex, softness, love, intimacy, etc. Whereas the men that are quote unquote unqualified, they're usually missing multiple of those check boxes, if not all of them. So yeah, go ahead.
Where would you put men, like, because there's certain men in just certain environments where they're broke, but they get a lot of women. Like, you know how it is, the salsa instructor, like the club promoter. You know what I mean? Where would you put them as qualified or unqualified if, like, they don't have the money, but they still get women? You know, the bartender. In LA, they got all the actors. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, for men that don't check off all the boxes, you typically have to be exceptional at least one or two.
Okay.
So the men that are unqualified are pretty much not doing anything in any of these areas significant to like kind of stand out. So for instance, the guy that's really, really tall and is like pretty charismatic and has nothing else of the things I kind of listed, he'll do well. Because he's exceptionally tall and he's a good talker, right? So we see it. Whereas the guys who can't talk to women, the guys who are not that tall, the guys that don't make any money, the more it gets to a point where she either friend zones you or doesn't even acknowledge you.
Yeah. You ever meet a guy that gets girls to pay his rent? I've seen that.
Oh, I'm jealous of them guys, man. Jealous of them guys.
Can you talk more about attraction triggers and define what they are?
Yeah, so they're different, obviously on an individual by individual level, but the things that I just listed are typically from the female perspective, the female side, typically some of the key cues that they're looking for. So from an attraction trigger perspective, women typically don't want to get with the guy that they can't sense that other women also think is attractive. So the problem that we're kind of having in terms of like this whole topic and this discussion that's going on, when you think about it, is like, these women are only picking men that they believe other women want and trying to ensure and guarantee that that guy is going to be monogamous and with them for the rest of their lives. So their attraction triggers are putting them in a small pool, dealing with a small pool of men that they're often being disappointed with as a result. Whereas on the flip side with men, many of their attraction triggers, a lot of women confuse that because they assume that they would be the same. Oh, I make so much money. I make this much money. I have this degree. I got my car. I got this. I got that. None of those things apply to men, especially men that have those things. So men, many of our attraction triggers are softness, femininity, nurturing, the desire to potentially start a family, a willingness to be able to listen and learn from him and not feel like she has to constantly lead or dominate. those are a lot of the things that men are typically looking for, and particularly attracted to. So for whatever reason, it seems like a lot of men aren't checking off the boxes in terms of attraction triggers that women are typically looking for. And unfortunately, in the West, that's probably true to an extent, because a lot of the women, unfortunately, in this country and in Canada and in UK and in Australia and other Western countries, they don't desire the need to develop those things that men are attracted to. They just project what they want onto the man and expect him to expect the same from them.
You know what's interesting? Because I've interviewed 1,000 women on my show, and the women that I met that I would say had the highest femininity, there's always like a reason. There's always a but. Like, it was very necessary. Like, they either highly struggled with weight or had children. So it seemed like it was kind of made out of like necessity. And I was in London, so I was interviewing women from all over the world. But I would find if there was ever like really, really high femininity, there would always be a catch. Is that what you've seen? Like, is that what you've seen?
Man.
Or maybe you've seen other things.
It's a mix. It's a mix. So sometimes it's actually because of religious upbringing and them being very sheltered and still sheltered. Because typically, and you'll see it, and you've probably talked about it on your show, there's definitely instances where they had a great father that was very caring and very protective, and, before you knew it, they ended up, going to college, and all of that went out the window, right? So yeah, sometimes life humbles them. Sometimes it's because of their background and what they're still remaining in. I definitely agree that it's rarer to find in Western countries for sure. But I've also experienced women who tend to stay to themselves and are not really in the mix. And I don't want to say that they're female loners, but they normally won't catch the eye of most men unless they just happen to be in the same proximity.
Yeah. Of the men that you said are like able to cheat, in your experience, what % do? So not what you've read, not what you've seen online, like in your personal, what you've seen in real life.
If I had to put a genuine, true number on it, I would think 30 to 40% of men probably have cheated. And this is going to be one of the first shocking things I'm going to say on your show. I think women cheat far more.
Oh, yeah.
Far more. They're better cheaters. They're more secretive about it. They don't get the same punishments for doing it like men will. So yeah, and even when they do cheat and they admit it to each other, they don't view their cheating the same way they view men's cheating. So this is why they can still remain friends with homegirls that they knew were doing all this stuff on the side. Whereas for a man to do it, they had to destroy his entire life and character and legacy as a result. So yeah, and this is the other thing. When you're a guy that other women, when you're younger, older, that's pretty attractive enough to kind of be around women enough, you'll be the guy that they're cheating with. And you'll start to be like, oh my gosh, like this, how common is this? And you always feel bad, and you're like, man, I hope I'm never that guy. And you learn, like, these guys will never know. A lot of these guys would never, ever, ever know. So I absolutely think that probably 30 to 40% of men cheat or have cheated, and I think that number is probably 50 to 60% of women, and I'm honestly probably being conservative when I say that.
Yeah, and that doesn't include like messages and like I'm assuming you're just limiting it to physical cheating, right?
Yeah.
Like if you included women having like a work husband or something else, it would probably be even 80 or 90%.
Listen, I don't know about 80, 90%, but what I have observed is that there are other things that I've seen the double standard when the things that they will go off on a man for in terms of cheating or looking for attention and validation outside the relationship, they have no problem receiving it on their end. If they see that their man, their boyfriend, their husband is liking another woman's picture, they will freak out. But the idea of them making their profile private, like, why would I do that? He's controlling. So they just see these things like totally different. Like people liking their bikini pictures that are not women, they just was like, that's just normal. But him liking a woman who's half naked or in a bikini, it's a problem. So I don't think that they typically see their cheating and their seeking validation outside the relationship in quite the same way. So that's why I actually think the numbers are somewhat skewed to be a little bit higher.
And in your experience, who's more likely to forgive cheating, men or women?
Women, but I think women and men are in similar territory with that. I think it's only the men who aren't operating from a scarcity mindset that have no problem with being like, get out. I'm good. I will never see or talk to you again. Only the men that know that they can easily replace her typically will do that. Most men, if they know, it's going to be very difficult to replace her, I have all this other stuff going on, they'll just kind of endure and try to go to therapy and try to work it out. Whereas a lot of women, despite the horrible stats in terms of how much they initiate breakups and divorces, oftentimes it's not after the first time. It's usually after repeated offenses that eventually get to that point where they get jaded, they change their feelings, and then they start planning their escape when the whole guy thinks that we've moved on from it.
I think that I want to see if you agree. I think there's alpha and beta cheating. There's women that get cheated on by guys with options, and they'll usually stick it out, but there's nothing worse than a woman getting cheated on by a guy who she thinks can't. Those are like the biggest crash outs I've seen. And I want to know if you agree or disagree.
I never described it or conceptualized it in that way. But now that I think about it, it does make sense that there seems to. Why is it that so many of her exes that are the cheaters and the abusers, she'll go through all this stuff with these guys, and then it's the guy that's the good guy, one infraction, and he's gone. She's done.
Yes.
So I didn't describe it in that way. I think I'm gonna steal that from her.
It's like Jeff Bezos' wife, like, cause she, like, obviously, when they got together, he was like the nerdy kid, and now he's cheating. She's like, no, because she doesn't see who he is now. Like, she doesn't see who he is now. Like, she still sees the guy she like started with. I don't know.
Is the woman he's with now, is that his first wife, or is this his second wife?
No, this is the second. He cheated on his first wife with her.
Oh, okay. So the second wife, the only image I have of her, forgive me for this, but like, it was when they were on a red carpet and Leonardo DiCaprio was standing in front of the two of them, and seeing her face marveling at this man in front of her boyfriend/husband was like fascinating to me. And I'm like, he is a billionaire and she's still gawking at this other dude. I'm like, ain't none of us safe, man.
That woman has to be studied. Like,
it's just Will Smith, Jeff Bezos, Steph Curry. It just doesn't seem to matter how high a guy gets. A woman will humble him by accident. Sometimes. It's amazing to see.
No, if you look at the last wife's dating history, it's like, had a kid with an NFL player, then broke up with him, married 100 million, then broke up with him and married a billionaire. And I'm like, she still has the ability to secure rings, even though she has 2 different baby daddies and she's like 55.
So she collected them rings like Infinity Stones.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said, you know what? There's some women that you don't know what the hell they got, because they're clearly, she must gluck or something. I don't know.
She got that thing on her. That's all I know. She got that thing.
I don't know. Okay, so the next topic we're going to talk about is passport bros. What is your opinion on men that go overseas to date? Do you think that's a good idea, bad idea? What's your general take on it?
I'm actually, believe it or not, fairly neutral, because first of all, these are grown men that can do whatever they want with their money and their time and their energy. But with that said, I want men that are doing it to be very intentional and cautious with the countries that they're doing that in. Because a lot of times when men put themselves in these situations, I know that men are going for all hosts of different reasons. Some to find a feminine woman who they can build a life and family with. Some because they just want to do sexual tourism. Some just for the sake of being able to have fun during trips. I get the whole 9, right? All these different reasons and rationales and justifications for doing it. Cool. My issue and concern is twofold. One, men have to recognize that, what do you think the men that are in some of these countries, especially the countries where your dollar goes further, how do these men feel about you? And you have to be cautious as more and more men that are coming from your area are doing the same thing. These men will start to get more tribal